I've been working as a handyman for more than 5 years now. It's not the most exciting profession, but it covers my expenses. Over the years, I've repaired everything from dripping faucets to damaged roofs. My daily routine is straightforward. Arrive at the job, fix what needs fixing, get paid, and move on. No fuss, no complications. But today was different. Early in the morning, I received a call from a woman named Lila. She needed help with a door that wasn't sitting properly in its frame. Nothing major, she assured me. Just a simple adjustment. The payment was generous, $1,600 for what would likely be an hour's work. For someone like me, that was more than enough to cover my expenses for the week, so I accepted without hesitation. I drove across town to her address, which turned out to be in a much more upscale neighborhood than I usually worked in. The streets were lined with large homes, perfectly maintained lawns, and high-end cars. After pulling into her driveway, I paused for a moment, trying to get a feel for the place before heading to the front door. When I rang the bell, I had no idea what to expect, but I certainly wasn't prepared for who answered. Standing in front of me was Lila. She was breathtaking, the kind of woman who looked like she had stepped straight out of a magazine. Tall, blonde, and with striking features that could have belonged to a model. Women like her weren't part of my usual world. "Hi, Edward." She greeted me warmly, already knowing my name. "Thanks for coming." "Of course," I replied, trying not to seem flustered. "Where's the door?" She led me down the hallway to the door in question. It wasn't a complicated issue, just a wooden door that had shifted slightly, causing it not to close properly. The frame was a bit misaligned, but nothing I couldn't handle. I crouched down to inspect it, feeling more at ease now that I could focus on the job. "This won't take long," I assured her, glancing up. "Just need to adjust the frame and maybe sand the door down a little. Should be done in an hour or so." She nodded with a smile. "Perfect, I'm in no hurry." I got to work immediately. It was a routine repair, something I had done countless times before. As I worked, I couldn't help but notice how poised and composed she was. She didn't seem like someone who usually called in handymen. Everything about her exuded wealth and elegance. I finished the job quicker than expected. Though it was a simple fix, I took my time to ensure everything was perfectly aligned. After tightening the last screw and testing the door one final time, I straightened up and wiped my hands on my jeans. "All done," I said, brushing a bit of sweat from my forehead. "The door should work fine now." She stepped forward and gave the door a gentle push, testing it. "It's perfect. Thank you so much." I felt the usual sense of satisfaction in a job well done, but then something unexpected happened. She reached into her wallet and pulled out a $100 bill. "Here," she said, handing it to me, "for your trouble. You were so quick and the door is as good as new." I was momentarily caught off guard. Not because of the tip, since an extra 100 wasn't unusual for a job like this, but because of how effortlessly and warmly she gave it. Most customers simply paid me and went on with their day, but she wasn't done. "Actually," she continued, her tone shifting slightly, "I was wondering if you'd like to stay a bit. Maybe grab a coffee or dinner? I don't have any plans tonight, and honestly, I could use some company." I froze for a moment. I mean, who wouldn't? I was just a handyman. Someone who fixed things and moved on. Women like Lila didn't invite guys like me to spend time with them, especially not right after a quick home repair. I stammered, unsure of what to say. I looked at her, trying to figure out if she was serious or just being polite. She must have noticed my hesitation because she quickly added, "I know this might seem a little strange, but honestly, things have been kind of dull lately. I haven't had much excitement or adventure, and I thought, why not? You seem interesting, and I figured we could just enjoy the evening together. No pressure. I just thought it could be fun." I wasn't sure what to think. It was completely unexpected, and I didn't know if I should feel flattered or just confused. After all, I was just the guy who fixed her door. But the idea of spending time with someone like her, someone so clearly out of my league, was, to put it simply, intriguing. "Well, I guess I don't have any plans," I said, doing my best to sound nonchalant. "Why not?" Her face lit up, as if she'd been hoping I'd say yes. "Great, I have an idea. There's a spot up on the hill where you can see the whole city. It's the perfect little getaway. I'll pack a small picnic basket, and we can head up there." I was still processing everything, but I figured, why not go with it? Life's too short not to take chances. I'll go get changed, I said, heading toward the door. I'll meet you in a bit. She nodded, her smile never fading. I'll be waiting. As I drove home to switch into something more casual, I had no idea what to expect. But for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of excitement. I wasn't sure where the night would lead, but something told me it wouldn't be like anything I'd ever experienced before. I still wasn't sure what had just happened. Had I really agreed to meet Lila? I had never been the kind of guy to go on spontaneous adventures. My life had always been predictable. Work, home, sleep, repeat. But tonight felt different. After changing into jeans and a simple shirt, I got back in my car. The drive to meet her felt almost surreal. I wasn't sure what I was getting into, but I was already committed. And to be honest, a part of me was curious. When I pulled up to her house, I saw her already standing outside, the soft glow of the porch light casting a warm hue over her. She wore a flowing dress that caught the light just right, making her look effortlessly stunning, like someone straight out of a high-end fashion magazine. She seemed like the kind of woman who could have anyone she wanted, and yet here I was, just a regular handyman about to spend the evening with her. "Hey, Edward," she called out, waving. "You look nice. I was starting to think you might bail on me." I smiled, a bit nervous. "I wouldn't do that. I'm here, aren't I?" She grinned. "I'm glad." She handed me a small picnic basket, and we got into my car, driving away from her neighborhood. The route she had in mind was familiar to me. It led to a hill that overlooked the entire city. The view from up there was breathtaking, especially at night when the lights stretched endlessly into the horizon. The drive was quiet, but not in an awkward way. Lila seemed relaxed, humming softly to the music on the radio, and I found myself enjoying the silence. Every so often, she'd glance at me with that same warm smile, and I couldn't help but feel drawn to her. When we arrived, I parked near the edge of the hill and we stepped out. The spot was just as beautiful as I remembered. Scattered benches, a peaceful atmosphere, and a stunning view of the city below. Lila spread a blanket on the grass, setting up the small picnic she'd packed. "Do you come here often?" I asked as I sat down beside her. She shrugged. "Not as much as I'd like. It's peaceful, and honestly, I don't always have someone to share it with. Most people don't really understand the need for quiet places like this." I nodded, gazing out at the city. The lights twinkled like stars, and for a moment, everything else faded away. The usual buzz of life felt distant, and all I could hear was the soft rustling of the trees around us. She handed me a glass of wine, and I accepted it with a quiet thanks. We sat there in comfortable silence for a while, just taking in the moment. "I'm really glad we did this," she said eventually, breaking the quiet. "I needed to step away from everything for a bit. My life has been nothing but work lately, and it's been ages since I've done anything spontaneous." I glanced at her, unsure of what to say. "I'm glad you invited me. I don't usually do this kind of thing either." She smiled, her eyes catching the glow of the city lights. "Good. I think sometimes we just need to take chances." I chuckled. Maybe I needed this more than I realized. She held my gaze a little longer than expected. Maybe we both did. We ate, talked, and enjoyed the night. As we spoke, I learned more about her work, her travels, her life. She listened as I shared pieces of mine. Neither of us had particularly extraordinary stories, but something about the conversation felt different. There was an ease to it, a natural flow, as if we had known each other far longer than just a few hours. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't overthinking things. I wasn't worried about saying the wrong thing or whether I was being judged. With her, I just felt comfortable. At some point, we lay back on the blanket, staring up at the stars. She pointed out a few constellations, and our conversation drifted from childhood memories to favorite books and movies. It was the kind of talk you'd have with an old friend, not someone you'd only just met. Then, without really thinking, I reached over and touched her hand. It was nothing dramatic, just a simple gesture. But I felt a shift in the air between us. She turned to me, her gaze warm, and then she slowly leaned in, closing the distance. Before I knew it, we were kissing. It wasn't rushed or awkward. It felt natural, like something that had been building up all night even though neither of us had spoken about it. The kiss started soft, hesitant, then deepened as the moment lingered. Her lips were warm, tasting faintly of wine, And when she finally pulled back, there was something in her eyes, a spark of something unspoken. "That was nice," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, unsure of what to say. The kiss had left me a little breathless, but I didn't want to overanalyze it. We were here, in this beautiful place, and for once, everything felt exactly as it should. We didn't say much after that. We just lay there, side by side, watching the stars and listening to the soft sounds of the night. For the first time in a long time, I felt completely at peace. No thoughts of work, no worries about the next day. Just her and this moment, and that was enough. The next morning, I woke up with a head full of thoughts. Lila and I had spent the night talking, laughing, connecting. But it wasn't just a fleeting encounter. The kiss lingered in my mind, replaying over and over. What was I even doing? A part of me thought I should be cautious, but another part felt freer than I had in years. It was unfamiliar, but I couldn't deny that I liked it. As I sipped my coffee, I tried to shake off the memories of last night, but my mind kept drifting back to her. There was something about her, beyond just her beauty, that I couldn't ignore. She had this presence, this energy that pulled me in. I had spent years as a handyman, going through the motions, never really thinking beyond the day-to-day. But now I was considering things I had never thought about before. Her. What might happen next? What I was even looking for in life. A message from Lila popped up on my phone. It was short, yet it hit me harder than I anticipated. "Hey, Edward, I had a wonderful time last night. Want to meet again today?" I stared at the screen for a moment, my heartbeat quickening. Part of me was eager to see her again, to spend more time with her, but another part hesitated. I didn't want to rush into anything, especially when I wasn't sure what she was looking for. "Yeah, sounds good. What time?" I replied, trying to sound casual. "I'll pick you up later." After sending the message, I set my phone down, feeling an inexplicable unease in my stomach. There was no logical reason to feel nervous. I had been around plenty of women before, but something about this felt different. I didn't want to overanalyze it, yet the feeling lingered. That afternoon, she arrived at my place looking as breathtaking as ever. Her hair was styled just right, and she wore a simple but elegant outfit that made my pulse quicken. As I opened the door, I struggled to act normal, but my nerves were making it difficult. "Hey," I greeted, forcing a smile. "Hey, Edward," she responded, her expression warm and inviting. "Ready for another adventure?" I nodded, trying to shake off my hesitation. "Yeah, let's go." She took the lead, guiding me to her car as we headed toward a small park on the edge of the city. It wasn't anything extravagant, but it had a quiet charm. The weather was perfect, the kind of sunshine that made everything else fade into the background. We found a bench and sat down. I tried to focus on the moment, but a thought nagged at me. Why was she so eager to spend time with me? She turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Tell me something, Edward." "What is it that you really want?" I blinked, caught off guard. I had never given it much thought. What did I want? A part of me wanted to say I wanted her, but that felt risky. Instead, I spoke the first thing that came to mind. I guess I want something real. Something more than just the same routine, you know? I've been doing the same job for so long, and I can't help but wonder if there's more to life than this. She nodded, her expression contemplative. I understand that. I've been feeling the same way, like something's missing. That's why I asked you out last night. It wasn't just for fun. It was about feeling alive again. Her words struck deeper than I expected. I hadn't been sure what she felt, but in that instant, I realized she wasn't just looking for something temporary. She, like me, was searching for more. "What do you think about us?" she asked softly, her voice uncertain. The question caught me off guard, but I didn't hesitate long. "I think there's something here. I don't know exactly what it is, but it feels right." Her gaze softened, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. She leaned in, her eyes never leaving mine, and I met her halfway. This kiss felt different from before. Deeper, more meaningful. It wasn't just about desire. It was about two people discovering something neither had expected. When we pulled away, I saw the same emotions reflected in her eyes. This wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was something that had the potential to change everything. "Do you feel that?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. I nodded. Yeah, I feel it. We remained there for a while, sitting in silence. But it wasn't awkward. It was charged with an unspoken intensity. I didn't know where this was going, but for the first time in a long time, I was okay with not knowing. With Lila, the uncertainty wasn't scary. It was exhilarating. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, we rose and walked back to the car. There was an understanding between us, one that didn't need words. We both sensed something shifting, something neither of us had foreseen but had both longed for. I had no idea where this would lead. Maybe it was just a passing moment, or perhaps it was the beginning of something real. But standing there in the cool evening air, I didn't care. I was willing to find out. The next few days passed in a whirlwind. Every time I thought about Lila, my mind raced. What had begun as a simple task, fixing her door, had evolved into something far more complex and thrilling than I had ever imagined. Every second with her was filled with laughter, chemistry, and an undeniable pull that only grew stronger. It wasn't just physical attraction. There was a depth to it, something we had both been unknowingly seeking. But as I sat alone in my apartment, watching the clock tick away, a wave of uncertainty crept in. It was time to face the truth. I needed to understand what Lila truly wanted. We had shared so much already. The late-night talks, the stolen kisses under the stars. But where was this leading? Did she see this as something real, or was I just a temporary escape from her routine? I tried to push the questions aside. What did I really know about love or serious relationships? I had spent years fixing things, solving problems for others. But now, my own heart was wide open, and I had no idea how to mend it. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from Lila. Hey, Edward, want to meet up tonight? I was thinking we could grab dinner. I'd love to talk more. About us. I stared at the text for a moment, the words appearing harmless, yet something about them carried more weight than just a casual invitation. My pulse quickened. Was she ready to discuss what this was? What it might become? I wasn't sure if I was prepared for that talk, but I knew I couldn't dodge it forever. Quickly, I typed a reply. Yeah, I'd really like that. What time? Almost instantly, she responded. How about 7? A mix of excitement and nerves settled over me as I got ready for the evening. What was I supposed to wear? Normally, I didn't stress over things like that, but tonight felt different. I wanted to look good, to show her that I was serious, that I wasn't just some guy who came to fix things and leave. I wanted her to know I cared about where this was going. By the time I reached the restaurant, my nerves had eased a little, though my thoughts still raced. As I walked in, I spotted her right away. She was even more breathtaking than the last time I saw her, dressed in a simple but elegant outfit that made her stand out in the crowd. When our eyes met, everything else seemed to disappear. She smiled, and in that instant, nothing else mattered. Hey, she greeted softly as I took my seat across from her. I wouldn't miss it, I responded, attempting to steady my voice. The waiter came by to take our orders, and for a while we kept the conversation light. Small talk filled the space between us, but beneath the words, an unspoken tension lingered. Something both of us felt yet hadn't confronted. The meal was fantastic, but my thoughts kept circling back to her message. I'd love to talk more about us. Eventually, she spoke, her voice quieter this time. I think it's time we talk about this. I nodded, feeling the weight of the moment settle in. Taking a deep breath, I braced myself for whatever was coming. I agree. I've been thinking about it too. Lila lifted her wine glass, sipping slowly, her eyes never breaking contact with mine. She looked composed, yet I could see the vulnerability there, the same uncertainty I felt. Edward, she said in a near whisper. I'm not someone who jumps into meaningless relationships. I'm not looking for something temporary. I nodded, already understanding her perspective. Neither am I. I think there's something real happening between us. Her lips curled into a soft smile. I feel that too, but there's something I need to be honest about. My heartbeat sped up. What is it? She hesitated, carefully choosing her words. I've spent a long time running from things, building a life that feels safe. But sometimes it feels like I'm living in a bubble. I need something real, something I can trust. I need to know if this is more than just a fleeting moment. A rush of emotions hit me. Relief, hope, and a deep understanding. She wasn't looking for something temporary either. She wanted something lasting, something that mattered. It was as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I can be that for you, I found myself saying without hesitation. I want to be someone you can trust. I'm not perfect, but I want to be there for you, Lila. I want this to be real. Her expression softened as she reached across the table, her fingers curling around mine. I know. I just didn't want to rush things. But now I think we should take this one step at a time. A warmth spread through me. One step at a time sounds perfect. We sat there, hands intertwined, letting the conversation settle between us. The uncertainty had transformed into something else. A quiet understanding that this was just the start of whatever we were becoming. It was a connection I never expected to find, but now that it was here, I wasn't going to let it slip away. As we left the restaurant, I walked her to her car, the night air crisp and soothing. Before getting in, she leaned in and pressed a gentle kiss to my cheek, her eyes full of unspoken promises. I'm excited to see where this goes, she murmured. Me too, I said, watching as she drove away into the night. And in that moment, I knew everything had changed. This wasn't just about fixing things anymore. This was about two people discovering something real in a world full of uncertainties. For the first time in a long while, I felt excited about what lay ahead.